But he ends up coming to America, and and he becomes this beautiful person who created his own nonprofit to help kids that were being underserved in education. And he's created an entire trust out of this thing. And he's so wonderfully positive and has had to deal with this stuff that the terrors he's seen. And he's actually become a friend of mine now after just talking to him. And I look at it's not just the adversity he went through, but the way in which he's decided to do something with it. And I'll make this quick. The last person is Bobby Joe Valentine, who is a local singer songwriter to me. And so tell you how different they are. But he does it so differently. I love this little story of his, and I watch him and I go see him all the time, and we've become friends now as well. I think because I'm so admired by what he does. He writes songs that are truly from his, I think, from his life and experiences, and he travels the nation and he sings and performs at local community events and a lot of different places of worship. He sings a lot at churches and synagogues and wherever. And the interesting thing about this is he speaks about love and being part of the LGBT community, and he does this at these places of worship. His goal is actually not just to sing songwrite, it's actually to build community in these spaces and to cross it all over the US with this storytelling and singing. And I'm inspired by him kind of going against the grain of like performing at bars and at clubs and stuff. He's like, no, 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 I need to build community and I want this to be a connection of people. And I thought, that inspires me to really think about how I connect with people and how we can put something into place. Like it doesn't have to be like the roadmap everybody does. Do it like authentically in the way that you need to do it.
That's great.
Yeah.
How lucky are we that we get to, excuse me, talk to inspiring people on a regular basis, right?
It is. It is amazing. Here's the thing I think this is amazing. 'Cause especially I kept thinking like, and I still think this, but I've always thought that this was a gift. Like it was such a gift for myself. Like, I mean, I'm the one making it happen, but it's still in return, like the return on investment for me is actually the change in my life. And the thing I've always thought was really interesting was these people say yes. Like when I call them, I'm like, hey, I know you don't know me. I'm some schmo up in the Bay Area and I'm not super famous, but like, do you want to be on my show? And I've done over 75 interviews now. And in this last year and a half, like I said, I only travel. So I'm going to your home. I'm going to your place of work. I am in your car. Like we're driving around. In a lot of these interviews, we spend half a day to a day together
Yeah,
because I'm helping them volunteer or I'm helping them do something. And so I'm always still amazed that these people say yes to me. So, some guy they don't know that's like, I'm coming to Alabama. Let's meet up. Like it's wild.
yeah. Excuse me, still getting over this cold. Um, yeah, I'm amazed that like you said yes. I was like, wow, cool. Yeah, and eventually I would like to get to the point where I go to where these people are and actually
Yeah.
like interact with them and maybe do some video stuff, but not there yet. But yeah, I just think it's so neat that people just let you into their lives like that.
I think it's special people. It's people that get it. That's how I always looked at it.
Yeah,
Where, if they say yes, then they get it. They get what I'm trying to do and they get that I'm trying to change this world and do these things. I mean, truthfully, out of everybody that I've ever like asked, and most of it has been cold calls. Like it's maybe in the very beginning it was only friends or people that like could connect me. But out of all those people I've asked, I've had 3 people say no for various reasons. I'm like, well, that's pretty good out of like 75 plus people, like, and
yeah,
it's so I think that a lot of people get it. They get that they want to be, and I'm also particular about who I want to talk to. I mean, I'm never talking to somebody who's just trying to market something or sell get rich quick because first of all, that doesn't happen.
right.
And because anybody listening to this, it doesn't happen. So I think it's, if you whatever you put out there, you'll get back as well. So I think that's how those people kind of show up and also say yes. That's what I try to think of when they do say it.
Yeah. I mean, I've actually had people be like so grateful that I want to interview them. They're like,
Mm.
"Oh, that'd be amazing. Thank you so much." I'm like, "Wait, you're doing me the favor?"
But truthfully though, it's in reverse because their special message is also getting out there to a different audience.
Yeah.
So it's I look at it the same way. Like I'm so grateful for like to have this conversation and to any conversation I ever have. When people, especially besides my family, because they're forced to listen to everything I tell them, but everybody else that wants to listen and hear about it, I'm so grateful. I'm like, oh, you care? I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really affirming.
It
So,
is absolutely.
yeah. So, what's your long term goal? I know that one of the things you and I have talked about before is that you're actually kind of paring down the number of episodes you do every year. So what do you think is going to happen to this over the next 2 or 3 years? Do you have any goals or thoughts about what
Mhm.
you want to do?
I do. So my big story podcast is actually just it's one channel or one product that sits within my world. And so it's actually part of my company, which is called Accidental Information. So that's kind of where like the home of all things sit at. So there's other digital resources and things that sit there as well as the podcast. So when I look to the future, my goal is that I actually have I want to be able to make a bigger impact for people and with people. So that means I want to add additional mediums of the types of storytelling and resources that we offer. And I also want to offer different ways to connect for people within like the audiences within themselves. So I want to build a community within that. So the 2 to 3 year mark is really that the company Accidental Information becomes the place for people to connect with each other, for anybody that feels different that wants help to embrace it. That's the idea. And I'll just be adding new resources and shows to it. Like, for example, the goal is like I don't produce everything, that we're adding two more shows, podcasts on that are not hosted by me. And they're different topics, but still fit in the same world. Like one's about mental health, and so that's just another avenue. And then there'll be ways for you to tap and actually get helps and resources and maybe a course that will help you actually kind of embrace it and find your uniqueness.
Wow, that's really neat.
Yeah, I'm excited. Actually, I'm actually working on like a third of that right now. So I'm pretty excited about like where it's going to go. And I just think in a couple of years that there's a lot more offerings and it feels really solid then. Like there's even more ways to dive in and it's not just like the Christopher show, like it's this whole
Yeah,
gamut of like wonderful people that want to change the world and change each other.
that's so cool. I look
Thank
forward
you.
to seeing how it unfolds. That
Me
sounds really
too.
cool. I know we're all
Yeah,
just kind of like groping our way through the wilderness, right? Like, oh, well, what happens if I go over here and poof,
I
into a tree? Okay, I'll go over here then.
I think it's really true. One of the things that I'm working on right now is I'm launching a membership. And this is a membership site that it's kind of this weird hybrid that I've come up with on my own because I haven't really seen anybody do it this way, especially if you sit in the podcast world, because like you don't make tons of money in podcasts. So if you're new to podcasting, let me tell you, unless you own something like This American Life or Serial, you're not making a lot of money. So um, but the podcasters, most of the podcasters either have Patreon or donations. That's how they kind of keep things alive. Well, that's terrific. But I think there's a different way to do all of this, and especially for my audience and what I want to be able to offer. So this is where I'm like feeling my way. Like I'm like, what have you guys done? What have you done? And nobody's done exactly it. So I'm taking pieces of what everybody's done. So hey, the Patreon model is usually around like you get perks, like you'll get like a keychain or you get extra episodes or you get something.
Yeah,
And then there are membership sites where you sign up for like a learning experience, oh, you want to learn how to use Instagram for marketing? Become part of this member and you get training for it. So that's actually literally what I'm building right now is, but still all around like how do you tap into your uniqueness, be yourself, find community, get resources, and get cool merch as well that you can like share your like your the way that you feel, as well as then like exclusive deep dive episodes, behind the scenes, extra stuff. So that's kind of how like actually I'm working on that right now and I hope to have it finally launched next month. And so I think it's finally coming to fruition and we'll see a hint of it like that 2 year look maybe next month.
Oh, that's cool. I
Thank
want
you.
a T-shirt with your mug on it.
People have actually said that. And like you're probably maybe the 10th person that has said it, and I'm like, are you people crazy? Nobody wants to wear my face on their shirt.
Oh, I
And,
definitely want to wear your face on my shirt.
which
You
is
better get some T-shirts made.
what's so hilarious because we're actually in the middle of making T-shirts, which does not have my mug on there on the T-shirt. So because with the one brand, oh, it's not really a brand, but I was trying to find a phrase that meant something that was special that talked about like the essence of my show. It talked about all the things that I wanted to create with accidental information, but I didn't want to create a slogan. Like I just people get confused. And I didn't really think anybody would care about wearing my big story on their t-shirt because I'm like, I don't know if that resonates. So I came up with Our Stories Matter, which is really what we're
Mm.
working from because I wanted people to be able to own it. Like we could share it and talk about it with other people, but it's also when I wear it or I have it on a sticker or I have it wherever that we all realize that we all have a story and they all matter. And so that's kind of what I've actually been like feeling instead of putting my mug and everything. However, I will tell you this. I have not told anybody about this yet. That's not like in my family. We actually have one of the little merch items that comes with the membership that actually has some illustrations built into it, and which includes an illustration of me.
Yay.
So
That's
I
awesome.
I did get like sneaky in there because I just think I'm like the spokesperson for all these things that I'm doing, and
Yeah.
I really do feel passionate about it. So I thought, you should just see me as a cartoon.
Yeah.
Why not?
That's excellent.
Yeah. So those are actually going to print right now. Actually, we're just finalizing the proof, and that piece of merch is going to print.
That's great.
Yeah. I know. I'm actually really tickled, and when I told my designer, I'm like, I had this idea. What do you think? He's like, that's brilliant. We'll definitely put you in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in the process of rebranding as we speak.
Mm,
So I'm hopeful that come January 1, I will be launching a new website with my new brand and everything. So
fun.
maybe I'll have to think about like a mug with my mug on it.
I actually do have like Christopher Swan. Actually, I have a logo for my own personal website, and that
Yeah.
actually does have my face on it. So, uh, and so I do technically have one. The new illustration is a different version of that, though.
Yeah.
Like now I have two, I guess. So you should have one.
Yeah. I'll look into that. I probably have my little avatar on it.
I think it's what people get to know you for, and the truth is, most people know me versus my company, which I did on purpose because I really just was trying to grow my brand because I was the face of it. I'm the voice of the show. And so people have gotten to know me. So I think that's why people say, hey, we should have something of you.
Yeah.
Okay. To me, I
Yeah.
just like, but I'm just me. Like, I don't know. Am I
Right.
very interesting? Really?
Yeah, but I mean, that whole thing about it's just me, right? I think there's a lot of people who don't feel like they can just be themselves, right? So I
Mm.
think when you have the courage, like one of the things that Glennon Doyle said that really stuck with me, she said, the definition of courage is living who you are on the inside, on the outside,
Hmm.
right? And I was like, yes, because Like I just live my life, right? And I feel very much the way you do. Like I'm just being me. Like what's the big deal? Like
Yeah.
and then people are like, no, 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 like you're being you. Like and I think in a world where people are putting up this persona on Facebook or wherever, I think it's really refreshing when people are just like, yeah, I'm me.
It's true, and when you can really see it,
Yeah.
like there was a picture I put on Instagram on Halloween, which I don't know if you saw that one, where I was actually in a furry blue costume, and which is not really my brand. Like that's
Yeah.
not really my online brand. And I think people have gotten to know, especially my show. It feels not serious, but there can be serious topics, and we're talking about people's lives, so it's not a comedy show, right? I mean, I'm still a little goofy, but I don't think that everybody really gets that actually on the other side, like at home, like I'm kind of a goofball. I really am. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I speak in voices sometimes. Like it's just who I am. And so I thought I just need to put this Halloween costume picture up. And like, so I think that's it. Like I was like, oh, I just need to show this more because this is literally what I do. Like, and I wore this crazy, silly, furry monster costume because it was my niece and nephew. I knew that they would really like it. So I think that's more of that. Like, just as I say, let your freak flag fly. Like, we need to see more of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of had to make that decision when I launched the Changemakers Playground. Was I gonna create a separate Instagram channel and a separate Facebook channel for Changemakers, or was I going to integrate it? And
Mm,
I decided to integrate it because the Changemakers Playground is just another way that I show up in the world.
mm-hmm. Yep.
And so a couple weeks ago I was in Yosemite, so people got to see that, and now I'm interviewing you, and you know, last
Yeah.
night I did a video of the snow, and so I just feel like I want people to see that you can be multifaceted, and that you can be a complete goofball and very serious at the same time. Like I put up a post the other day because I had coffee with a friend, and she was telling me about this woman um, who lives in our city who got recruited into prostitution right out of prison.
Ooh.
And apparently, this is very common where sex
Mhm.
traffickers will recruit, they'll target women in prison,
Wow.
especially who have been in for prostitution or drug offenses and or have served multiple sentences because they're more vulnerable. And they're literally there to pick them up the day they get out of prison, and then they
That's
force them into
horrible.
prostitution. I know, right? So I threw that up on Facebook because I was like, wait a minute, that's going on. That's not okay. So, like, okay, everybody, you need to know this is going on, right? So,
Right.
it's like, and that's all of me. I'm talking about super serious issues. I'm being a goofball with my friends. I'm, taking pictures of the landscape in Yosemite, so like it's just to me it's all just iterations of who I am in the world. So I think it's good for people to see that
I
in
do too
your
because
furry
we're
monster costume.
right. I have to tell you, like the reactions I got from that were priceless. So I thought, oh, I need to do more of that. I need to show a little bit more of that. I think
Yeah,
it goes back to my original point too. None of us are just one thing. We're
right.
multiple things. Just we're just afraid that people are going to say things or it doesn't fit within my brand, and and I'm careful about what I curate online as well.
Right.
Like, I mean, I usually do take pictures after I shower. Like, that's the thing. I just kind of one of my rules. Like, because I work at home, so
Right.
it's easy for me to be in like my like sweats all day or something
Yeah.
during the winter. So I figure maybe I should get dressed. So
Right.
I think there is that truth though to it.
Yeah. So what thoughts or lessons do you have to share with people who are looking to live their dreams, make a difference in the world, be their authentic selves?
Well, I think the first thing I would tap onto is definitely use what makes you different, like the uniqueness. And if you don't know what that is, do a little soul searching. There's some ways to really tap into it, and think about the communities you fit in or the things that you really love. Those things can make you different as well. I talked to a friend about this the other day, who is, I went, she just really admires like she's, I think on the outside, she looks like this professional woman that runs her own business, but she's also a mom of three, and she just kind of fits this like, well, this Caucasian woman lives in the Bay Area that runs this business, does this thing. And I'm like, but the truth is, she loves really nerdy stuff and like fun, like fantasy stuff from steampunk to Harry Potter to that kind of stuff. But and she like loves all that stuff and she loves arts and crafts, but she doesn't tap into any of that stuff into her business. And she actually makes cakes for a living. And she does it if somebody orders it, but I'm like, why aren't you specializing in this stuff? Like, why aren't you like feeding to that audience? And I mean, there's obviously more to it than that, but it was just those sorts of things. So when you look at those things that make you unique, sometimes it's about passion and interest. It's the things that you can't stop thinking about. It's the community in which you fit in. Um, so definitely use that as your special ingredient. And then the thing that you have to repeat over and over, like your two magical words are persistence and determination. Like if you're going to start your own thing, do your own thing, follow a dream, persistence. Like you have to be persistent with stuff. You have to stay the course, keep going even when it's hard, when you don't see the future, keep going. Because when we stop, which is a lack of consistency as well, we kind of fail in all things, right? That could be from, getting in shape to eating right to anything you do in life. So in the adversity, keep going through it. And then determination is like, just don't give up. So uh, I've been doing this for quite a few years now. It's not a bed of roses, it doesn't pay a ton of money to do these things. I have a plan for that stuff. But like
Yeah.
if you're not persistent, especially when it's like a slow period, when I first started my show, I thought like I didn't know what the heck I was doing with my show, and it was not very good. And I was like, oh, okay, this is great, But I kept going at it, and I kept learning like how to be better. I even changed the name of the show at some point. So like it was all these things I kept learning and doing, and if I would have looked at my numbers originally, what were people were listening to it, and I could have easily given up with that, And now I look at it now, even though downloads don't really matter so much to me, I can look at it now and go, wow, like, you know, the show's been listened to over like 70 countries around the world on a semi-regular basis in most of those countries, and so that just took a lot of persistence.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
Well, thanks for spending some time with us on the playground. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule.
of
And
course.
thank you, moreover, for doing what you're doing in the world and telling people's stories because I think it's really important for us to get to know each other through our stories, and it builds that human connection between all of us.
I do too, and I appreciate it, and it's really my pleasure. I think the more that we learn our human stories, the more that we realize that we can connect and actually and care about each other, because that's really all there is.